All right, folks, do not listen to the Schumer open border crowd. That's the subject of the riff. Look, far be it from me to encourage a government shutdown, especially one that would shut down FEMA in the midst of bad winter storms or close down the Secret Service, remembering the assassination attempts on President Trump's life. But that's all you got if you defund DHS in this continuing resolution, because the immigration and deportation stuff has already been financed to the tune of about $75 billion. That in the one big beautiful bill that was signed last summer. So it doesn't make any sense. It's about as dumb as dirt. But I have a second point. With all due respect to Senator Chuck Schumer and his Democratic colleagues, they have been the party of open borders. Something like, I don't know, 10 to 15 million illegals during the Biden years. So therefore, I am hoping that the talks between the White House and the Senate Republicans and the Senate Democrats tread very carefully on immigration laws and the border. Mr. Trump has closed the border, and he did it with ICE and DHS and CBP. So far, in just 1 year, over 675,000 illegals have been deported, and 2.2 million have been self-deported. And this didn't require any new legislation. We just needed a tough-as-nails president who used existing laws as well as vast public support to close the border. And there are plenty of other laws on the books regarding so-called worst of the worst criminals, plenty of awful criminal ventures undertaken by the illegals and their gangs, and drug trafficking, sex trafficking, murder, homicides, you name it. You got a mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, who says he won't enforce federal immigration laws. Huh? Laws are laws. They should be enforced. If you're here illegally, the chances are very high you should be deported. By the way, sanctuary cities are not sanctuaries. Federal law overrules local or state laws when there's a conflict. My point here is to suggest that Democrats may want to change these immigration laws as the price of a CR deal to avoid a shutdown. And I think in all likelihood, given the open border policies of the Democratic Party, Republicans should be very, very skeptical of any such deal. Be careful here. GOP, don't go wobbly on immigration with the midterms looming and the left trying to go back to their open border ways that was so destructive to this country. Now look at the management of the forces, ICE, DHS, and so forth, that Tom Homan is dealing with in Minneapolis. Well, that's a completely different matter. He's going to manage those troops as he sees fit. That's up to him and the president. But that's completely different than changing deportation and/or immigration laws. Now, since the border is closed, there'll come a point when we can have a national discussion about citizenship and meritocracy, or speaking English, or knowing American history, paying your taxes, and other criteria necessary for legal immigration. Legal immigration at some point is going to be tackled, but not in the next 24 or 48 hours just to avoid a shutdown, and certainly not in response to a bunch of left-wing Democratic Party open border ideas that voters completely rejected in November of 2024. Please do not listen to the Schumer open border crowd. And that is my riff.